morning, my name is Mr. Neal. I'm a 5th grade teacher here at Glen Lea Elementary School. And this morning we are doing a lesson on the plot diagram. Checking in.
Checking back.
Checking in.
Checking back.
Go ahead and write your I can statement in your notebooks. While you're writing, I'm gonna have 3 volunteers to read. I'm going Kenna, I'm going Jaden, I'm going Michael.
I can use the plot diagram to map out events in a narrative story.
I can use the plot diagram to map out events in a narrative story.
I can use the plot diagram to map out events in a narrative story.
Very good. So at the end of this lesson, you should be able to agree with that statement. I can use the plot diagram to map out events in a narrative story. What is the plot diagram? Well, every story, every movie that you watch, whether it's a sad movie or a happy movie or an adventurous movie, every book, fictional book that you read or narrative that you read follows a formula. You guys love math. Let me make that statement. I love math. Show me, don't tell me. Right. You like math. You know that in math you use formulas to figure out or to solve problems. Well, stories follow a formula, and it's called the plot. We can use the plot diagram to map out how a story is structured. All of these stories, all of these movies follow this same structure. In the middle of your table are blank copies of the plot diagram that you see behind me. Go ahead and grab one sheet, please. I'm gonna make a statement. I have seen The Lion King. Wow, that's like 100%. Excellent. In The Lion King, this movie also follows this plot diagram. We are introduced to a main character. Who's our main character? There are a bunch of characters, right? A bunch of main characters. Who's the main character? Simba. Where does this story take place?
In the desert.
Kind of in the desert. A little bit more specific. In Africa. In the Pride Lands. Very good. When you are exposed to the beginning of a story like that, that is called the exposition. You can hear the root word in there, right? I want you to write the word exposition above the rectangle on your page. Yep. Mine is here, yours is there. The exposition is basically the characters and setting. Who the story is about and where my story takes place. I want you to write down the terms character and setting. Character, setting. Yep. The next term is the initiating event. Say initiate.
Initiate.
To initiate is to start something. By your triangle, I want you to write the words initiating event. Now this plot diagram looks a little different than a plot diagram you've probably seen before. This one is probably the more popular one. Looks like this. There's like a triangle. It goes up. Looks like a mountain, right? I like that one, but I really like this one. Because I don't know about you, but I'm a very visual person, and I sometimes need cues to remind myself what is what. That's why we match up our initiating event with the triangle. And then, I forgot to print this word, so I wrote it in permanent marker. The next term is conflict. Class, say conflict.
Conflict.
What is a conflict? If you're faced with a conflict, what does that mean? Tyan.
A problem?
It's a problem. Very good. we said that the main character was Simba. We know the story takes place in the Pride Lands. What was Simba's problem? What was his main conflict? There were a lot of things that happened that complicated his storyline, but what was his main problem? Kamari. That did happen, right? That was a part of his overall problem. But what was his main problem? Kenna? His stepdad killed his real dad. Very good. We talked about, in my reading groups, in our small group, we talked about internal conflict and external conflict. Who can remember the difference between the two? Internal, wink, wink, and external. Mike?
Like internal was like inside, external like when the outside.
Internal.
What it feels inside and what's actually happening outside.
What you feel on the inside and then what is actually happening on the outside. What was Simba's external conflict? The hyenas, we could say that was an example of an external problem that he faced. What was an internal problem that he faced? Think about what happened to him. Kayan.
Oh yeah, his stepdad killed his real dad. He felt sad.
He was depressed. He was very sad about losing his father, right? So internally, that's something that he struggled with. Now, I like that Kamari brought up the hyenas being a problem for him because that's a part of our next phrase, which is called the rising actions. I'm only putting this once on the board, this term, but there are a lot of rising actions that happen in the story, okay? So this part of the mountain, or our plot diagram, is going to be rising actions. Go ahead and label that on your paper. These are all the things, all the little complications that push a story forward. Simba in the Pride Lands. Scar winds up harming his dad. That's our initiating event, right? This causes a conflict inside of Simba. And what does he do as a result? This could be one of our first rising actions if we're jotting this down. What's an event that happens?
He runs away.
He runs away. And then what happens? This is the rising actions pushing our story forward. A lot of times things become more complicated in the story. And then what happens?
I agree. What happened was he got lost.
Then he gets lost. And then what happens? Moving our storyline forward.
He felt the heart. I forgot what the little animal was.
He meets Timon and Pumbaa. He meets Timon and Pumbaa. And then what happens? Pushing our story forward. Nakeem.
They sing a song to make him lose and then he gets over.
Good one. I hadn't even remembered that. They sing the Hakuna Matata song in an effort. I love your excitement. Hang on to it. In an effort to make him feel better. And then what happens? Somebody arrives on the scene. Somebody from his former life. What was the name? Nala comes back. And then what happens? Look, if I were writing all this out, I'd be scribbling, and I'm getting to one of my favorite parts in a story. And then Ty.
Nala and somebody fighting because they don't know each other, but once Nala gets somebody else, that's when they realize that it's each other, they fall in love, and it's a story.
And then what happens? The story is still pushing forward. Kayan.
And then when he gets older, he meets his stepdad, and then he knocks his stepdad into the volcano.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's it.
Y'all ready for this?
Yes.
This is the climax. You got it. Class A climax. This is the heightened point in the story. All of these actions are occurring so that we can get to that climax. Usually, it's going to be a good force versus a bad force. In this case, Scar versus Simba in that big fight, right? I I like to remind my students that it's that moment when you're like on the edge of your seat and you're so excited because you're like, I don't know what's gonna happen. You kind of do know what's gonna happen, but sometimes you're just like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? That good versus, look at this smile on his face. That good versus that evil. That's the heightened point in the story. That's called your climax. And then we have, oh, not yet. A falling action. So in the movie The Lion King, Scar versus Simba. They battle it out. Battle it out. After the battle, somebody talk to me. What happens? Sienna.
Simba wins, and everything's calm and that's it.
Everything is kind of calmed down. The animals are living in harmony again. And how is this, the original conflict, that main conflict that we mentioned, how is that resolved? Ooh, bless you. Kayan.
Basically, now I gotta tell you something else, and then Simba and Nala had a baby, right?
He becomes, what happens?
A father.
He becomes a father, but ultimately he becomes the king, right? He replaces his father's throne and becomes this king. That is our resolution, how that story was, or how our character's problem was resolved. Now, if Climax is my favorite on the plot diagram, then this is definitely my second favorite, if not my first. That's a tough call. This is the theme. My small group reading, a small reading group, somebody read what theme is on the back wall, please. Can you see that, Michael?
No, but I know what it is.
You know what it is? What is the theme, Mike?
It's a lesson, or like they're trying to tell you something in the story.
The lesson or message that the character learns and that we can walk away with and apply it to our own life, right? What's a possible message from the Lion King that Simba may have learned? Turn and talk. I want you to take a few seconds. Turn and talk about the possible message that Simba has learned. Go.
You didn't do anything wrong, and somebody says that it's your fault, then that you shouldn't think that it's really your fault if you didn't do anything to make that happen.
I think you gotta always be aware of your surroundings no matter what.
So what I think of this from Lion King is that sometimes you're going to have troubles, and sometimes you just gotta look over the troubles and move aside for the new things that's going to happen.
Talk to me. A possible message from the Lion King. This group right here looks ready. Sienna, talk to me.
Well, I said that you always have to be aware of your surroundings no matter what.
Okay. Imagining me post that one on the board. Always be aware of your surroundings no matter what. Add another one up there. Denasia.
So I agree with Sienna, and I would like to add that I said that if somebody says that you did something and that's your fault, but you didn't do anything to make it happen, you shouldn't say that it's your fault.
So your theme is surrounding guilt, right? And not taking blame. Kamari, what are you thinking? To stand up for yourself. If I had posted that on the board, a message that was not dealing with guilt. What was yours again, Sienna? Be aware of your surroundings and stick up for yourself. Which one of those three would you say is the strongest? This was a test question, for example. Which one would you say this one is probably more fitting? What are you thinking, Jada? Well, he's welcome to that opinion, and I see some people agreeing, and I see some people who disagree. Tyon, talk to me.
What really happened in the story is that his father died, and he ends up taking his father's place and watching something with the problem is. So I think that the theme would be something like sometimes bad things happen for a good reason.
Interesting. Sometimes bad things can happen for the best possible reason, right? Stand behind the chair. You are about to practice working on plot from a story that you should be quite familiar with. Somebody remembers. Excellent. I'm going to ask that Kiesha link up with Kion, and Nakeen, you get to link up with me. Come on up to the front, Nakeen. This is a little game, one of my favorites that you might remember, called Mindstream. When you get to talk nonstop about whatever subject that I give you until I say switch, and you have to try not to say and You can repeat something, but not redundantly over and over again. Now, Keen and I are going to practice first, and then it's your turn. The subject is chickens. The little red things on the head that's called a comb, and then they have the two wattles that hang down. Those are also red. There are all kinds of chickens. Remember on that field trip we went on, we saw those chickens, and I was really excited, and I said that those chickens were silver duck wings, and I was right. And the lady was like, oh, wow, chickens. They have yellow feet. All right, check it in.
Check that.
Your topic is the ocean floor. Go.
The continental shelf is close to the land where people swim, but then it goes to continental slope, and the continental slope can be miles long.
You said, the ocean floor has the open something. Continental shelf, that's the part we swim on.
Oh my goodness, the sunlight zone. They can't go down there. Yeah.
The ridge, the continental slope, the continental ridge, and the
Midnight zone has the laserfish
And
is
pause. Next topic. Uh-oh. See what your partner knows. Henry's Freedom Box. On 3, 1, 2, 3, talk about it.
Okay, well, about Henry's Freedom Box today, he's gonna beat his head, but hit it.
And then he got inside the box and went to Philadelphia. And when he got to Philadelphia, on his way to Philadelphia, his box was getting totaled. And pause. So we're gonna read Henry's Freedom Box. After we've read Henry's Freedom Box, you're gonna work together to fill out a blank copy of the plot diagram. I'm gonna give you about 10 minutes to do that before we break off into stations. Station 1 is independent reading. Station 2 is spelling city. Station 3, you're gonna work with me. And then station 4, you're gonna be working on the ocean zones in nonfiction texts. Thank you for visiting Nealville. We hope you enjoyed our lesson on the plot diagram.
Glen